So someone wants to know, and this is a good question, thank you for asking, have any of you been involved in English-related research projects? Is there a difference between this and the English thesis? And I think usually theses encompass a research component, but that's different than receiving like a grant to do research. You can also get grants to do research for your thesis, but like that can look different than actually, I don't know, like a fellowship or another research-oriented project. So I'm curious, Brooke and Katie, if you have done any research related to your English major, or if you know of any research opportunities at your respective schools for English majors. Brooke, you can go first.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of looking at that now because I'm moving into senior year. But USC has programs called SOAR and SURF. I do not know what those stand for, but you get like a stipend grant kind of thing for assisting a professor with their English research. So it's a learning position, but then also you do get like money for it. And most of the ways people do that is just finding a professor they really like. Like Katie was talking about her teacher who taught Jane Eyre, who she loved. Like you'd go to that professor and be like, hey, are you working on anything right now that you need research assistants for? English has research assistants the same way there's lab assistants in a bio lab. So at USC, you just get a teacher who or a professor who wants to have you on their team, and then you end up applying for SOAR and SURF, which are those grants. And then it all works out from there. From what I know, I have not done it, so I cannot tell you personal experience from it. But I went to office hours and talked to my teacher, who I loved, who taught my early modern drama class. I was talking to her about it, and that was the rundown she gave me. You find a professor who you share common interests. They are like sign you off. They're like, yeah, if you get the grant, like you totally are going to be one of my research people. And then you go get the grant, and then you come back and you're one of the research people. So that was a very bare bones explanation because I don't know much, like I said.
Yeah, I can't say that I personally have ever been interested and think that would be probably something that you would do more as a summer opportunity than during the school year, at least for myself. I'm sure there are people who help professors and are research assistants for professors throughout the year, but I can't say that it's something that I personally was interested in. But I do writing my junior paper, it was a research project, just like for on a personal level, not for a professor. So really, you decide what you want to write about, and then you just do a deep dive and find all the materials you can find in the library, whether it be literary theory, which is something that Brooke talked about before, which is like something that someone writes, but it's not a book. It's like they come up with kind of a theme that can be applied to many things that can help aid a new lens on looking at a piece of literature. And that's what a lot of research projects are, is using or writing literary theory. That's also a research project, but using literary theory and using that as a lens to look at literature. And yeah, and just analyzing as much as possible. But that's really, I feel like, what English research is for the most part. I don't know. And you can get grants for it at Princeton too. And I'm sure you can get grants anywhere to do some sort of independent or assistant type research.
Okay, I'm gonna cut in again really fast. Sorry, Moriah. But just, I feel like when I was applying to college and just like when I wasn't a junior in an English program, I didn't quite understand like that lens application idea. So I was just gonna give like the most classic example, which would be like probably Judith Butler on gender trouble. It's a very prominent piece of like gender theory. And so one of those theses or like research projects would be like applying that to something like Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, where there's like a lot of characters who dress up as people of different genders and who that causes complications and that complicates things. But you use Judith Butler's gender trouble to see how they're performing gender and how that contributes to the narrative. So that's just, I feel like that's the most classic English example, but just as a like introduction to how theory lenses work.
For sure. Yeah. And I'll speak to this a bit because at Penn, there are pretty dynamic, and my biggest regret probably is not applying to them and not seriously considering how I could use my interests or how I could possibly receive one of these scholarships to study what it is I want to do, like outside of school, outside of academics. But Penn has an array of research grants and writing scholarships that they offer students. and they're offered through what's called the Kelly Writers House. And the Kelly Writers House is essentially a center, and it's a physical space on campus that is a cozy house. And all of the writing programs are run out of there. So most of the writing classes take place in that space. And they also have, I believe, a radio program. They have poetry events. They have speaker events. They have a lot that goes on there. And one of those other offerings is scholarships and research grants. So that can look like a $2,000 prize for you to create something, be it an article, an essay that you then present on at the Kelly Writers House, or maybe there's a travel stipend where you travel nationally or internationally to do what your research entails, and it's pretty self-directed, I believe. So if you are interested in research related to writing and you're currently applying to school, which I imagine many of you are, take a look at the Kelly Writers House at Penn, because and you can also be a fellow there, so that might be a good fit for you.